So this is episode 1 of my artist series, and right now I'm just going through and adding water as a wash to the background of the paper. And what this does is allows the watercolors to move around more freely and you can get a nice gradient. Without the water wash, it would be a lot more streaky when you add the watercolor to the paper. And with watercolors, it's really important to work in thin layers. They actually dry a lot faster than you would think, and I'm an impatient person, and I can attest to the fact that watercolors are really easy and fast to work with. I do like to go in and add other colors before they're completely dry, just because I like how it gives a gradient effect, and I'm able to blend them together better. And now I'm just building up the colors to get the shades that I want and the intensity. And keep in mind that the watercolors do dry a lot lighter than they appear when they're wet. So here I'm going in and adding in the watercolors a little bit more opaque. And while the blue is still wet, I'm going to go in and add white underneath it, also opaque, so that the colors can kind of blend in together a little bit. And here I realized that I added a little bit too much water and it was causing the blue to run into the purple, so I just tilted my paper up to bring the water back up closer to the white. And when you do work in thicker, more opaque layers, it's going to take a little bit longer to dry. So now I'm just going back in and adding a little bit more pink to create a purple layer, since the blue canceled out the pink that I had down underneath. I'm also adding a little bit more pink into the top portion. And another cool thing is that if the water paper is wet, you can use paper towel or a damp cloth to go in and remove some of the color. Depending on how thick you lay it down will determine how much color you can lift off. But it does give a really cool effect. So overall, this process took about 30 minutes. This was with lower quality paper, 140 pounds, and lower quality paints. As you can see, there's a lot of gritty texture in the bottom of this. As you can see, there's a lot of granulation in this area. You can definitely see the lines where I was trying to mix. It doesn't really blend as well. The quality is just not as good. I also was painting with these more as acrylic, thicker layers instead of watering them down. Also, you can see here, I was just applying the colors a lot more opaque instead of building the layers up. So this was the second one that I did, and this is actually on hot press paper. These two are both cold press papers. So hot press papers are very smooth. This is 140 pound paper, which is not quite as thick as this. This is 300 pound paper. This type of paper, it works really well for detail work, writing, character sketches. If you want something with clean lines, then I would definitely use a hot press paper. Because as you can see, I have a lot of lines in between the transitions of the different colors. It gives a cool effect, which I wasn't expecting, but I do like how the colors blend a lot better on the cold press paper. So this is my most recent one. It's still drying. I might add some more layers to it. And this is with 300 pound cold press paper. And both of these I used my Schminke watercolors, which are a lot more expensive than the Artist Loft watercolors. I did use a couple of the Artist Loft watercolors in these two just because I didn't end up getting the right blues that I wanted to use for this piece. And another thing that's really helpful is watercolor brushes. This painting I did using my acrylic brushes, and these two paintings I did using watercolor brushes, and I definitely noticed a difference. So these are all the watercolor brushes that I've recently picked up. I have a few pointy ones that are good for detail work, thicker ones that are good for putting down washes of color, and this one is good for putting down washes, but it's angled, so it also aids in detail work. So far with just these brushes, I think I've been able to do a lot of different things. You don't need a ton of brushes, you just need a few quality brushes that can get the job done. So don't worry about having tons of brushes. If you can afford to get high quality brushes, just a couple of them, and add them to your collection over time, that's a lot better than just getting a cheap set that gives you 12 or 15 brushes in a pack. Now let me know which one you guys like the best. Do you like my first attempt, cheap paper, cheap colors? My second attempt, hot pressed and good colors? Or my third attempt, which was cold pressed paper and good colors? Leave a comment below. And this last watercolor I finished up just after doing the purple one. Let me know how you guys like it.